Hey everybody, it's Chainsaw Gears 12 here, and today I'm reviewing The Mantle from the band Agalloch. I told you I would be reviewing this. I gave a little teaser picture of the album cover on my Facebook page. If you haven't liked that, it's in the description, along with the personnel and the track listing. But I wanted to name you guys off the 4 genres of metal this album is classified in, so you guys know what this band is, basically what this album is all about. The genres that it says that it is involved in is progressive metal, folk metal, black metal, and doom metal. I wanted to say this real quick as well. So there's 3 instrumental songs on the album, so there you go. And on top of that, I wanted to say this real quick before I actually jump off, because I'm going to be talking about mainly the guitars, the bass, drums, and vocals. But also, it does say there is piano bits on this album, so you know that. There are bells, a mandolin, a contrabass, accordion, a trombone. It says a handmade grime cymbal bell used on track 2, blah blah blah. So basically there is other people that are on this album that I don't think are really in the band, or they might be in the band or on this, or basically just making adding basically more than just the typical guitar, bass, drums, and vocals. So basically all the personnel, including all these extra people that did different types of instruments to make this album what it is, in the description, and of course the songs, once again, the track listing, so you guys can go check that out. So basically, let's go back to the spot where we usually are doing these reviews. I know it took a little longer than it was supposed to, but I wanted to let you guys know ahead of time, as soon as you turn this on, to know all that extra information about what's added on top of just the regular guitars, bass, drums, and vocals. Anyways, so let me jump off into this album right now. So basically, when I discovered this band and the album, because that's when I first discovered the band, was this album. The full album on YouTube, which I don't really want to get into that topic. But anyways, this was a different type of band, in my opinion, because usually when I discover random bands on YouTube, they're either technicalized bands, black metal bands that I've never heard of before, or basically a band that you hear the music and you go, they're not really going to make it. So, it's not, sorry to say that, but that's what it is, in my opinion. But when I heard Agalloch-The Mantle, and hearing that opening acoustic guitar track just coming in, I was just like, oh, this is different. Because usually when I hear an opening to a track, it's probably like a piano bit or a really eerie sounding thing. But to start off with this really cool acoustic type riff that just kept on going, and it was just really soothing. And then it starts off to the next track, which is basically a clean tone guitar. And it just sounded really simple to play, but really awesome sounding. And it was just kind of setting me up for what this album is, basically. And throughout the whole entire album, I was just blown away musically what was happening here. Because like I said before, all those extra instruments that were there. But basically, I love what this band was doing musically by themselves, on top of what else is added. Because this is not a typical album that basically features heavy riffs and just like sometimes a melody, stuff like that. This album, I would say probably 90% of this album is melodies. Because basically what's happening here is because, why I'm saying that is because, sorry about that if I mixed up my words right there, but there's acoustic guitars, a lot of acoustic guitars, some clean guitar riffs, clean guitar tones. We have also on top of that piano bits. We also have on top of that, we have a lot of harmonies that are overlaying the acoustic guitars or the clean tones. And basically there are a lot of just interesting things that are going in to make this album. So I was really enjoying that this album is mostly a soothing ride, because as I'm listening to this album about 2, 3, 4 good times, I've heard it on repeat a bunch of more times, but the first couple of times I was listening to the album all the way through, that album cover, the deer, elk, whatever is on the front, whatever the animal that is, when I heard this album, it sounds like the music is like following this animal like in the forest or something, or it's like an adventure, I don't know, something like that, because it just feels, it was a great thing to put that animal and that type of artwork on the front of this album, because it really fits. That's kind of like what I'm trying to say at that point right now. But that's what I really enjoyed. To the sound of this album is just phenomenal at what it's trying to accomplish, because this band isn't trying to do technical type stuff. They're not trying to do overly produced type stuff. They're just trying to do some soothing, progressive folk, black, and what was the other type of metal? Sorry about that, guys. Doom metal, which that really does fit with this album. But sorry about that anyways. But I really enjoy just the sound of it, because the guitars sound really good, the acoustic, the clean, and sometimes the heaviness, which is 10% of the album is kind of heavy here and there. But like I said, 90% of this album is really clean. But just the sound of all the guitars that went into this album is just phenomenal. They all fit together. It's not like one is overly produced to the others. They all sound pretty generically fitted together to make it sound good. The bass, on the other hand, the bass guitar, I can hear it in some moments. I really can't hear it in others because the guitars are overly powered. Not saying that the production's bad, but they're trying to, the guitars have more of a soothing effect than a bass would. That's what I think. But that's what I think. So, to the vocals, because I wanted to get this right here, is that there's two different types of vocal styles. The one vocal style, which I think they're referencing the black metal sounding, is the fact that the vocals is basically like black metal. It's kind of like a black metal raspy. You know what I'm talking about, the black metal type, like Emperor type stuff like that. That type of vocal style is on this album, but it's not on there that much. It is on there to pretty much show you that, that's the type of style they wanted to go for with that type of vocal style. But most of this album is actually singing, which I really enjoy that, because I catch myself singing parts of this album because it's really catchy, and the vocal styles and basically the vocal lines that are overlaying a lot of the guitar stuff that's happening on this album, basically overlaying the great parts of music. Really enjoyable stuff. It's really memorable, and I basically catch myself re-singing and basically singing along with the vocalist on this album. To the drums, I felt like the drums in 2002 when this album was released is a great fit for a 2002 drum sound, because it could have obviously probably been better, but with what was happening with the rest of the album, with the vocalist and the guitars and the bass and the other instruments that went on to make this album what it is, I felt like the drums were put perfectly, because I felt like if the drums were made more, like the production was more, like was put more onto the drums, it probably would have overlaid a lot of the stuff that makes this album great. Because what really makes this album is not really the drums. Not a diss on the drummer, not a diss on the bass either, because what really makes this album is musically what's happening on the guitars. That's what I think. Now, people might disagree and say it's the whole band. Well, the whole band does sound amazing, but what makes me love this album just that much more is what's happening on the guitars, because the guitars, there's so much going on. I personally believe that the three best tracks on this album are probably the instrumentals. Not a diss to the vocalist, not a diss to anybody who thinks the vocalist makes the album, but I think my favorite tracks are the instrumentals because they have an added more of effect. They don't have that, they don't have that limitation of basically having to write something that the vocalist can oversing. They can just basically do what they need to do to make the song more memorable, or maybe make it better. So I really enjoy the instrumentals. I would say they're probably like some of my favorites, or my favorites on this album are the instrumentals. But overall, I think this album is top-notch work from Agalloch, and basically for top-notch, in my opinion, like one of the best albums that I probably have heard since I've been starting to do metal, because it just blows me away musically, because a lot of it may sound simple, but it sounds so good and soothing and just relaxing. You can just sit back and relax and just listen, because that's what happens. I mean, a lot of the times when I find myself being really emotional or something like that, I put on this album and I just forget about what's happening in my life and just basically just sit back and just relax listening to this music. So that's what makes me love this album even more, because it basically helps me personally, relax and just soothe out. So overall, I recommend this album to anybody who listens to metal, because I don't want to say only a certain type of genre of people, or only a certain person who likes this type of genre will listen to this or like this. Because I think everybody should at least give it a chance to listen to it and see what happens. Because the first 2.5 minutes is an instrumental leading into the album. But I think that if you just sit there a full good listen, I think you'll either like it or you'll love it. So that's just my opinion, but I think this album needs to get out there more, and people need to listen to it more. And basically people just need to discover this band. That's really what it is. So anyways, if I had to rate the album, I'd say a 9 out of 10 would probably fit this album very well. It was a great release, and I think people need to just listen to it and discover and see what you think for yourself. I would love to see in the comments below what you think, or at least go listen to a track and see what you think of it from the Mantle. So that's it, guys. That's the review. If you like the video, like the video. And if you like me and you want to see more metal videos of me being random and stupid, or whatever, or reviewing metal albums, which I'm supposed to be doing, subscribe for more metal videos, and I will see you guys pretty soon.